Dr. Shiva. We're heading to our march on Big Pharma, and Frank can point. So we're driving right now down what's called Memorial Drive, okay? And we're marching. We're going to march onto Big Pharma in Kendall Square. The most important thing we're going to do today is to educate everyone where the real center of power is, and why that center of power is Cambridge, Massachusetts. On the left here is Harvard University, and we're going to be going down Memorial Drive. This is Memorial Drive that we're getting onto, and we're on one side of the river, which is Cambridge. On the other side of the river is Boston. So we're on this side of the river, and we're going up Memorial Drive. And as you go up Memorial Drive here, you'll see from this end, we're going to cut over, from this end of Memorial Drive, heading up that way, east, is between here and what's called Central Square, the properties owned by Harvard University. And remember, these are multi-billion, hundreds of billions dollars worth of institutions which pay zero taxes and property taxes. All these buildings over here that Frank is showing that Harvard owns, and we'll get more into them. I'm going to cut over. You're going to see all this very, very high-end property Harvard University owns, and then they rent it to others. But imagine that. I own a building in Cambridge. I've paid close to $2 million in property taxes over the last many years. These are some of the Harvard-owned properties here. Beautiful buildings, but they pay zero owned property taxes. Okay? So these people are really the folks who talk all about, helping working people and helping others. Meanwhile, they don't pay any taxes. Okay? That's how scummy these people are. Over on the left here is the Kennedy School of Government, which is really the training ground for the deep state. So the people all over the world. And over there, Frank, on the other side is Harvard University. Over there is Harvard Stadium. And on the right is Harvard Business School. But over here, you can see those typical red buildings. And we're going to cut down Massachusetts Avenue because I want everyone to see we're going to go to Harvard Square. And as we go down into Central Square, the entire row of all that real estate is owned by Harvard University. I think the only other people who own probably more land than Harvard and MIT from an institutional standpoint is probably the Vatican, okay? Mm-hmm. Vatican owns as much property as the entire size of the country of France, okay? So think about it. The priesthood, be it the modern-day priesthood of academia or the ancient priesthood, all are into real estate, and they don't pay any property taxes. Quite incredible. They were coming up, again, these are all Harvard-owned properties. These are the graduate student dorms, okay? And they don't pay any taxes. Across there is another set of Harvard Business School buildings, et cetera. So you are in the center of the deep state of where these people are the ones who architect censorship. They architect how we manipulate people, and they do it in these beautiful red buildings, and we're all made to think that their brand is better than all of us, okay? But that's the first thing people need to understand. So this is the Harvard University part. We're going to cut over, and then we're going to start heading into MIT. But the reason we're doing this march, and we want, at some point soon, people are wasting their time following these misleaders and going to Washington. This is just all theater. That's why I really, really, really want everyone to understand, whether it's Trump on the right or this fool Robert Kennedy on the right, on the left, whatever you want to put it, doesn't really matter. They basically are doing top-down movements. That's what they're doing, right? They do top-down movements, get a bunch of people, bust them into Washington, D.C., take some pictures, and think they're running a movement. That's not a movement. That's a manufactured, it's like genetically engineered movements, okay? It's not an organic movement. It's genetically engineered. This movement, we're going to build it very slowly and methodically. People go to truthfreedomhealth.com. We're training people on the foundations of how to split the atom. And splitting the atom requires people to get educated, and we're talking about splitting the atom of consciousness on who is the real enemy. And the real enemy is not in Washington, D.C. They're not in City Hall. They're not in state houses. They're right over here at Harvard University in this little locality here. We're going to walk people through. So now I'm going to cut over. So over there, what that side that we just came up is all Harvard. Now we're going to go into what's called Central Square. So if you think about Harvard Square is one location, Central Square is another location, and that heads, so you're going from western part of Cambridge, where Harvard Square is, heading east to the Central Square part, and in that part of Cambridge is where the line shifts between where MIT starts owning the properties, okay? So we're talking about huge amounts of capital here, and this is the real center of power. So all of you, don't waste your time going to Washington, D.C., or begging to these mayors and politicians. We got to build a movement so we raise consciousness to understand this is where we want to come. So today, we're going to do a march and an educational tour. We'll be putting those videos out, but the goal is to educate all of you that in a very small 5-block radius, you have Google headquarters here in Cambridge. You have MIT Media Lab, which was funded by pedophile Epstein, and the MIT president still took the money even though he was convicted. We're going to have a speaker there. Kristen Falvey is going to talk about, she has done a lot of research on child trafficking, etc. Then we're going to go over to the Stata Center, which was literally a sort of a ridiculous building that was built by a quote-unquote great architect, and it basically looks like a paper bag. It's been leaking and all these kind of problems, but that's funded by Bill Gates, okay? Then we're going to go over to Pfizer, right? So we're going to go through the centers of fake science, which are controlling truth. Then we're going to walk over, we're going to first start at Google, which controls freedom, right? Censorship. Then we're going to go over to the center of people who are controlling science and technology. And then we're going to walk over to the people who are now controlling health, Big Pharma, Pfizer. Then we're going to go to Moderna. And so I want to show people here, this is Central Square. And you can see this is Central Square. It's a little bit, it's not as quote-unquote nice as Harvard up there, but they're gentrifying this. This is known as Central Square here. And we're going to, as we go up Central Square, all the property from here on down is owned by MIT. So Harvard owns down that way, MIT owns down this way, okay? So basically, you have to think about it this way. The elites, Harvard or MIT, they basically divide up territories. Okay, you get that, I get this, whether it's left or right, okay? You get to bullshit people over here, so they have the idiot Kennedy over here, and they had to manipulate the very wealthy women who thinks he's their fighter. Many of them want to sleep with him. And then over there you have on the right, you have Trump manipulating the white working class. Our movement is the only movement that is here to blow up all of this nonsense in terms of the brainwashing and get people back on the right track. And if we don't do that, there's not really going to, it's all just theater, okay? Fauci is just a bureaucrat. He is controlled by the trillions of dollars that flow through this region right here. So now we're going to head up. This is Massachusetts Avenue, and we're going to head up, as Frank can see. You can see all the way down that street. Down there is MIT, okay? And beyond that is Boston, okay? So that's where we're going right now. And by the way, all of you, if you notice, I think there's a CVS pharmacy right there, okay? Now, CVS pharmacy is owned, and Walgreens over there. Many of the pharma companies, many of these pharma retailers are large conglomerates owned and controlled by what are called these pharmacy broker companies, okay? So many of you, if you can't come to Cambridge, go to truthfreedomhealth.com, get your gear, sign up to learn the systems. You can go in front of a Walgreens on the sidewalk. Don't block anyone. You can hand out flyers educating people on truth, freedom, and health, because people are going in there to supposedly get health. And there may be some good vitamins, but most of the stuff is all packaged garbage, right? But again, this is now we're in the MIT region. Frank is showing right here, okay? And that's MIT down there. So all of this has become the land of Big Pharma. Right there, Frank, can you part? That's Novartis up there.
With the dome?
No, right there on the sign to the right.
Oh.
You see right there, Novartis.
Oh,
So that's Novartis building, which is a big drug manufacturer. Down on the left is Pfizer, okay? This is behind this, that big building over there is Pfizer's building, which we'll be going over to. Down the street there is Moderna, okay? But this is really, and MIT, I'm going to cut down here because our team is waiting over here. So you notice we're doing this on a Saturday, and we probably are going to start doing deep state tours. That's what we're thinking about. We'll get a bus. They do the duck tours. I think people need to understand. We'll call it the deep state tour, right? So that's the MIT dome that people may see. And now we're going to go down here. This is called Vassar Street. And down this street is where the Gates building is, the Stata Center. It's also where Draper Labs is. So we're going to sort of just show you where, but our educational tour that we're doing very quickly, and we'll do it later on, is to really teach you where the center of power is. So let's stop wasting time mentally and consciously playing theater. All of this crap we see every election cycle is just theater. The real center of power is here, and they don't want people marching here. They don't want people from Texas coming here, do they, Frank?
Nope.
They don't want people.
We got them, though.
Yeah, but they don't want. They want people being misdirected to go march in Washington, D.C. Those are the prostitutes. Those prostitutes are fed by the capital that comes from here. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So anyway, remember, the real enemy, the longitude and the latitude, is Cambridge, Massachusetts. You got MIT down there, and then down the street you have Harvard, and in between you have trillions of dollars worth of real estate and capital that moves through here, that controls economies and people throughout the world. This is the center of power, Cambridge, Massachusetts. So all of you get ready, whether you're going to drive in some point in the spring or summer, but this is where we should focus our efforts. And those of you who can't come, you don't need to physically come here. Go in front of the CVS's, go in front of, where the shopping malls, and hand out Truth, Freedom, and Health, training material. We've created excellent material. We're training warriors and scholars, but we have literally created an institute now for warriors and scholars to win. And but it's going to take you a significant leap in consciousness to let go of the brainwashing of the celebrities and the left and the right nonsense. So anyway, we'll keep you posted. We'll be putting up a video of the march. Thank you, everyone. Be well.